G'day guys, welcome back to the Backyard Workshop DIY. It's time for another bargain build video, and today we're going to have a look at how I made this little spotted gum 3 candle holder for under $10 in just a couple hours. But before we get stuck into looking at how I did that, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, and also think about jumping across to Instagram and following on there. That way you never miss any content that I put out on the Backyard Workshop DIY. Now let's get stuck into it. First, we start with all our different elements. Got 3 $1 candles and a $3 piece of spotted gum decking from Urban Salvage. So have a look around, find yourself a nice bit of timber to start with. It's going to make the job a whole lot easier and make your end product look a whole lot nicer. But you don't have to pay the world for it. As I said, $3. Waste to someone else, definitely some life in it for me. Now, first thing I want to do is work out my spacing and my shaping. So I'm thinking something like that with some curved ends. So now it's time for me to mark all that out.
Okay, so first thing I had to do here was work out where my centre was, marking a centre line. Let me set everything off that to make sure things are spaced evenly. So, a few marks along, out with a big rule and straight down the middle. You'll notice with the peaker I've changed over to the white, just so much easier to see on the spotted gum. Then wanted to make sure my curves at each end were the same, so I just used a protractor as a bit of a radius guide, so I could make sure I kept it nice and symmetrical to each end. Once that's done, knew my basic shape. It was all about spacing out my candles and working out what I was happy with, and then measuring between them to make sure they could be spaced accurately. After that, I was good to go with starting to shape, so get these sorted and then we'll get stuck into shaping. Now, to get these ends cut, I decided to use the jigsaw. Could quite easily jumped on the bandsaw or even done it by hand using a coping saw, but as I said, grabbed the jigsaw, made a series of relief cuts to make my life easier before I started trying to cut that curve. Now, while I'm cutting this, I'm not super stressed about getting it perfectly on the line, because I will clean this up with the disc sander once I finish getting it cut.
Okay, rough shape all sorted out, my spacing sorted out for each of my candles, and I think, you know what, that was looking good. Next thing is to create a little recess for each of these to actually sit down a bit, make it a bit more stable. Means this huge thing comes out, a 55mm force and a bit. You know, I'm not crazy, I'm not going to try and run that in a hand drill. For starters, that won't even fit into the Inco drill, and the Milwaukee's right on its limit. So what I'm going to do is head around to my father's house so I can use his drill press, make life a little bit easier and a lot safer.
Now, before we start drilling, one key thing a lot of people miss when they use a drill press is making sure that their work is level in both directions before they actually start. So here you can see, checking that, getting it right from the very start, so that when we come in to drill these, we have a nice flat bottom. So it's that simple, just want a little recess just to hold the bottom of that candle. So that's one done, time to move on to the other two. And there we have it, recesses all done, ready to take it back home and finish shaping. So what I've done now is I jumped over onto the disc sander just to finish tidying up those radiuses on each end, make sure they were nice and smooth and symmetrical. Now, if you don't have access to a disc sander like I do, you can easily do this with an orbital sander or even do it by hand if you needed to. The last bit of shaping work I'm going to do on this is grabbing my trim router and putting a little round over on all the edges, just making it a bit smoother to handle, and also matching the edges to the end in the way they present. Then we move on to sanding. I started at 180 grit and took this all the way up to 400. Gave it a really nice finish, felt really nice in the hand, and I think it presented really nicely once we got it to that 400 grit. Sanding's done, shaping's done, time to add some finish. Just going to my go-to Walrus oil, a little bit of chopping board oil on this actually. It's food safe, but it also means it's pet safe, so if the person this is going to's cat decides to rub up against it, not going to cause them any issues, and ultimately it also makes the spotted gum look really good. Nice and easy to apply, wipe on, but you could put any finish you wanted on one of these if you were making it.
So there you have it, guys. That's how I made this little spotted gum candle holder for under $10 in just a couple of hours. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below.
Now, if you've enjoyed this video, think about hitting that subscribe button and checking out some of my other videos here on YouTube. If it's daily content you're after, however, jump across to Instagram, give me a follow there, and that way you'll never miss anything coming out of the Backyard Workshop DIY. Now, thanks for watching, and as always, have a good one, guys.